All right, so the Agent First Summits are back with a bang with the wrong um, stuff, with the wrong link, but that is okay. Life is good. Carmel, could you DM Brock on his hub? He's trying to get in. So with our Agent First Summits, there's a few things that we've changed ever so slightly, and we've changed them for the better, I would like to think. One of the things that we have changed here is, of course, this is open to anybody and every brokerage. So if you're an agent, an aspiring agent with any brokerage out in the world, you are welcome here. So this is something that is available to you. So our summits are, of course, free as well. So if you have anybody that you believe could benefit from our time together, please bring them through or invite them over. If you're at a safe place to do so, turning on the webcam is going to be extremely appreciated. It really provides a different environment, different level of communication, level of, yeah, more than that, yeah, just communication, right? So Zach is taking the time out of his day to share anything and everything. In fact, he's under the ground rule of value, value, value. And at any point, if we feel that there might be some clarifying questions that would be important to bring up, then he's given me permission to go ahead and put the hard stop and say, hey, Zach, what do you mean by that? Hey, Zach, can you elaborate on that? Because he's got in an open playbook, any question is on the table. So he has given us full permission to ask him anything and everything. He has a giving heart to begin with, and here he's going to share everything that's working incredibly well for him, and even the things that haven't worked as well, because I think there's as much value in that as well.
Mhm.
So with that being said, let me do a little bit of an intro. So Zach, I don't mean to make you blush, but you achieved such huge success, and you shared some of it with me yesterday that I think it's important that the folks know. So, um, w- through your YouTube efforts, which I'll let you share on how long that's been going on, and some of the struggles that you've had. I believe through this year, you're looking at closing roughly 50 plus transactions from YouTube alone. Is that correct?
Yep, that is correct.
So let's let that sink in. So 50 plus transactions. And as he mentioned earlier, going into 2025, he already has $12 million booked and in contract with his business, firing on all cylinders. Another thing that I want to share, it's not about money, but it is about money in some way, right? So we're not doing this as a hobby. You're not taking your time away from being with your families in our summit today for no return. But I want to share something that is super aspirational for every single one of us in Mr. Zach having accomplished a six-figure month from his real estate business thanks to YouTube. With that being
Yeah,
said, there's many
yeah.
more months coming up, and I'll shut up now. Mr. Zach, tell us a little bit about how long you've been in the business, when you got started on YouTube, and what were some of the biggest reasons that you were, I I guess, what some of the biggest challenges that you had when you first started?
Yeah, so I have been licensed since 2021. I've been full-time since May of 2022. And so I kind of got started on YouTube right away. I spent 23 minutes cold calling and I hated my life. And so I got cussed out on the phone 3 different times, and I decided that that was definitely not for me. There are plenty of people that make it work, but that was not my style. So kind of got started on YouTube relatively immediately. I didn't know at the time what I wanted to do. I was kind of doing a little bit of anything and everything, trying to figure out what would work and what I wanted to spend time on. So posted the first YouTube video probably in May of 2022, and then closed my first deal from YouTube in September of that year. And that was the first moment for me that it kind of clicked. I was like, oh, people actually like watch your content, and uh they'll call you and they'll be like, hey, can we work together? And I was like, are you like, I wasn't even sure it was a real person. But they were definitely real people, and we got it going. So at that point it kind of made sense to that YouTube worked. And then so I was like, okay, I knew what I wanted to do at that point. And my wife and I personally, the only real estate we've ever bought is new construction real estate. I've never personally bought resale real estate. Every home we've ever purchased was brand new. So it was like I recognized that there was a need, especially here. So we're in the DFW market, and builders are constantly building and putting out inventory. And I recognized that there wasn't a lot of agents that truly knew that space well and specialized in that space. So that is kind of what I've gotten to the point of what I do. So 2023 or end of 2022, we doubled down on like 2 videos a week, and it was working. 2023 doubled down again and just fully committed to 3 videos a week. Did about $16 million off of YouTube last year, and we'll do about 18 million, 18 or 19, give or take, this year from YouTube. So I always tell people 99% of my business is on YouTube, and 99% of my business at this point is new construction real estate. And so we'll do, like I said, we'll do the same this year. And it was really cool as Jaime and I were talking about this yesterday. I was looking back through my notes, and we've been connected for a couple of years. And I had told him at the end of 2023, how incredibly thankful I was for him and the way we've kind of worked together and the influence he's had on me. And I remember looking back at that note and seeing that I had 3 million pending coming into 2024. And I was like, well, we should update that. And, telling him yesterday, hey, we're at, 12 and a half going into 2025 with, potential to book even more. So it's been a fun journey. It's not been without its challenges. So my hope today, and he asked me to do this, I said, hey, can we just make it a conversation? I would love to just kind of, go back and forth and answer questions and talk about what works on YouTube, not really necessarily YouTube, but new construction and any of those spaces that have kind of helped us build this into a win.
Heck yeah. So in light of that, let's in our summits, what I wanted to do was break open more conversation style before it was more presentation style, and there is an element for that in the several summits that we have coming up. Um, so as you have a question, please feel free to either drop it in the chat if you'd like for me to ask it on your behalf, or feel free to unmute yourselves. But so as questions come up, please, let's have a conversation. But one quick question I wanted to ask everybody in the chat is, in the last month, how many videos have you published on YouTube? It's okay to put zero. Let's see where you're at. Before I would ask how many of us have a YouTube channel, but in reality, if you have a Gmail account, you all have YouTube channels. So
Yep.
let's see how active we've been, and feel free to be as honest as you can be. Zach, let's jump right into it here. I have a really good question that I think is good. What videos have you seen work that a lot of
Yeah.
people are giving you, either calling you, emailing you, texting you, and saying, "Hey, I watched X video, and this is why I'm calling you." I think a lot of people want to know that.
It's funny we ask, because I try and ask that question when people reach out, and sometimes they'll tell me it's like one specific video, and I go back and look at it, and I'm like, oh, that was published like 6 months ago. Or a lot of times what it becomes is like all of them, and I'm like, what do you mean all of them? And they're like, oh yeah, we've been watching you for 3 or 4 months. We are, we're committed to, we want to work with you. So the things that my channel has become is it's kind of a 3-part approach of, hey, we're talking about local communities that are upcoming. Hey, here's this community, here's builders, model home tours. I think a lot of people are doing that and doing it well, and it's finding your flavor that works with that. But the other pieces that I found, the whole, like, that people weren't talking about. There was not a lot of educational content on how to walk through the new construction process, right? How to understand a builder's contract, how to negotiate, how to, what questions you should. So those kind of things from an educational standpoint, providing value to consumers, because ultimately, like, I want people to call me, but my goal is I'm going to give you everything I can, because I want you to be able to buy a house. So a lot of educational content, a lot of upcoming communities, a lot of opinion on builders, good and bad. I think the thing that's been one of the most successful things for me is I'm not. I think a lot of times agents are afraid to be like, oh, hey, let's, we should do all, and they're afraid to have an opinion. And if you can back your opinion up with fact and experience, like, you should share that opinion. Your job is to be their fiduciary, and in their fiduciary, you're looking out for their best interest. So when I'm talking about looking out, it's like, hey, we're not going to buy from that builder. Like I have a list of builders, and I will tell clients like you can call me and say, hey, I want to buy from them, and I'll respectfully decline to work with you because I don't believe in the product that they put out. I don't care if they send out an email with a red tag event that they're paying 10%. We'll leave it at who that is and who that isn't. But it's that, right? It's the authenticity of showing up every day. And finding the place to be educational, finding the place to share what's coming, and then just walking people through those processes to be a resource.
Now, something I find very impactful about your channel, and how purposeful you are, well, more impactful, or I guess astounding, knowing the numbers behind the channel. On average, how many views would you say you get on a video?
It depends. I mean, right now we're down a little bit, so you can look at the last couple we've published, and they're in about the 300 to 800 range, give or take. But things tend to kind of take off. So I count it based on daily averages, and so we're averaging about 12 to 1300 total views a day right now. Is kind of where I tend to look at those things.
Now I bring that, and thank you, by the way. I bring that up. So if we do the math on that, there's a few quite a few videos on your channel. And for the daily average to hover between 12 to 800 views, and I mean this in the most respectful way, it's not a lot of views in the YouTube world.
No,
So
no,
I want to make that very, yeah, I want to, I bring that up because oftentimes we see those vanity metrics of 20,000, 50,000, 100,000, a million. You don't need a million views. We would love to have a million views. Don't mistake
right.
that. We would love that.
Yeah.
Go
So
ahead.
for
Go ahead. I think
reference,
you're going to
I'm
take it.
looking at it right now. For the last 28 days, we're at almost 30,000 views, with about 3,500 hours of watch time. So really the thing that I count is views, and watch time, and us being in that 35. I mean, if you did the math on prospecting, 7 hours a day, 7 days a week, like we would far surpass any number of that. But the good thing about that is like when people are reaching out, they're the right qualified people, right? Of course, not everybody closes. Of course, not everybody transacts. Of course, there's people that fall off my radar because I forget to follow up, or credit score, whatever it is. But a lot of like when people are reaching out, they're at the point they're like, hey, we're ready. We want to work with you. Like, do you have time to like work with us? Which is a totally different than like chasing those people, right? So even when the views feel low, it's the right people seeing the right stuff at the right time.
I dig it. I dig it. Betty, get in here. What question do you have?
Thank you, Zach. Thank you, Jaime. Okay, so I do have a question, and I think you kind of said a little bit about that. It's mostly about what's the process. Like when somebody decided to work with you,
Yep.
is it through email, Calendly, phone, and then how do you service that? How do you keep up? And because 50 transactions is a lot, so
Yeah.
that means that you had to have some sort of system.
I wish I could tell you that my systems are 100% dialed in, but I would be lying to you. So that's kind of the thing that we're trying to figure out, because I know like scaling past 50 to 75 or 100, like we're going to have to get this in place. So one of the things that I've noticed, and one of the things we've tracked, and Jaime and I have talked about this, is we have really three different avenues people can get a hold of me. So like there's a direct, like send me an email is one, send me a text is two, or book a time directly on my calendar and you can see that link. And as I track it, it's almost like a 33% split across all three. So we're like, oh, maybe we should remove one of those. And I was like, well, I can't, because they all perform at about the same rate, right? So ideally, it's coming through. We're getting them booked on the calendar. We're taking all the notes. My goal is to try and get them on a Zoom call like this, so that I can, we can have a conversation, because we do get a lot of relocation too with playing this space. So the goal is to get them on Zoom and kind of talk through the process, talk through what they're looking for. From that point, it's getting that buyer's rep signed, and then getting them out in front of the right builder. So, and then I was watching the chat. So how many videos? So I was doing 2 a week. So April 2020 or May 2022 to September 2022, 2 a week. And then we pulled our first client in September of that year. So whatever that math works out to, but it was a lot of like, figuring it out and finding my voice. And it like YouTube is the test and find out space more than anything else. I mean, I could show you, you know, our conversations of like, hey, let's try this. Hey, let's try that. And it's like, if it works, great. If it doesn't, like we had fun doing it. And I think that's the hardest thing that I think people don't recognize when you're doing this, is everybody, it's like, hey, we just want to copy and copy and copy. And it's like, well, you got to find your own avenue and find your own voice. And what works some places may not work other places. And the biggest thing I think I wish I could tell people is like, just be authentic, right? You know, I see Brock's on this channel. He knows like, you will never see me in a suit ever, like ever. It's like shorts and t-shirts and like jeans. And so like I'm showing up on video in shorts and t-shirts and jeans. I'm showing up to like buyer appointments in shorts and t-shirts and jeans. It's like the authentic thing of just like, hey, this is who I am. And I recognize like I am not everybody's cup of tea. I'm highly sarcastic. I'm highly, you know, I'm a millennial and
No
all,
problem.
all all of those things play out and but the right people show up and it's like when you find your right people, that's what makes the difference. And then again, when you niche down and you're like, hey, I want to do new construction or I want to do flips or I want to do, you know, whatever, like just you become the expert in that space.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Well, let me ask you that one of the things that I think would be very valuable in knowing is what are some things that you tried that didn't work? Either you
Yeah.
invested so much time in trying to get a video concept out there. Like, talk to us about some of the things that you did try that didn't end up working.
Yeah, I think for a little bit of time I was doing the like, hey, here's the cool things that are going on in this city. And it's like I reckon, you know, hey, here's the best coffee shops. And I'm like, well, first of all, I don't even drink coffee, so that was stupid. And then so it was like I ended up getting views from people that cared more about like the nightlife scene or the activity scene. And I'm like, it wasn't interesting to me and I felt like I was forcing it. And so those were a couple of those things. We podcasted for a little bit and I think we'll probably bring that back because those conversations worked well. And then I think, you know, trying to do one of the things that I found that was we were doing that wasn't working was like when I would shoot a community and it would be like, oh, there's 3 different models. I would like, okay, let's cut these up and do 3 different videos. And what I started learning is like YouTube wants people to stay on their platform and they keep people on their platform by making longer videos. So instead of taking one community with 3 models and making it 3 videos, it needs to be 1 video and I need to find additional content to shoot with that. So that was some of the stuff that didn't work. I think and again, the stuff that also didn't work was trying to be somebody that I wasn't. There was several different people that I mean, you can watch in the YouTube space and see. You'll see you'll see Jackson Wilkie. He's going to be on here next week. They're big down in Houston, and they've got some incredible things going on. So I was trying to mimic that. There's a guy in Austin. His name is Suman. I was trying to mimic that. You know, looking at what Jaime was doing, and it's like ultimately it came down to I had to, and I said it earlier. It's like not being me. What was the thing that was not being successful. And then it was like because it was evident I wasn't having fun. And when I wasn't having fun, my content wasn't good. So that was the thing is like you have to learn to have fun and enjoy this piece of the business. And it'll be evident when you do.
Quick reminder on if you have a question, please feel free to raise your hand or drop it in the chat. And Zach alluded to it earlier. So this is the Agent First Summit, the 2.0. So the way that we're doing things now is based off of series. So December is YouTube, and Zach is spearheading our series. So he's a part 1 of 4. Let's call it that. So we're gonna have next week. We're going to have the channel junkies. We have Jesse and Jackson coming through. Then the week after that, we have Kyle Seagraves, so a huge loan officer, almost 200,000 subscribers. And then we have on the 31st, I think I even saw him here, Mr. Franco in the house. 100K subscribed channel. He will be presenting his stuff as well. So make sure that you're coming through, and I promise to send the correct Zoom link at that time.
Yeah.
With that being said, hey, let me ask you a quick question as people gather the courage to ask some questions. Shooting the content, you're
Yeah.
really, really good at property tours, whether it's model homes or new communities. Talk to us about what you do to prepare, how you execute, and I mean, the back end, the editing
Are
stuff,
you
don't really worry about that.
are
But
you
how do you
sure you
shoot the
want me to talk
content?
about that? Because it's not going to make any sense.
I'm scared
But
now,
I'll
but
talk about
let's
it.
do
So
it. Let's
yeah,
go.
so I shoot a lot of So I again, if you watch stuff on my channel, you'll see it's about 50-50, like stuff out and about in communities, and then stuff like sitting here at my desk talking head kind of thing. Anything that is talking head style, I am a bulleted notes kind of person. So I've got a screen, like, so my camera's here, there's a screen right here to my right, and I just kind of list out my bullet points. And I am a shoot it in one take and then we'll go back and figure it out later kind of thing. So it's like, hey, here's what I want to talk about. Like, give me the things I need to say. Say what I, get it all out there, and then go back and fix it all in editing. When I shoot a property tour, one of the things that I've made a switch to recently so it's helped me is I used to shoot like in linear thought of like, okay, so I need to shoot my intro, and then I need to shoot the house, and then I need to shoot the outro. And that kind of made sense, but it didn't really, because I didn't know what I was walking myself into. So I've kind of reverse engineered that at this point. So now, like when I go out and shoot communities, I spend about 25 minutes. If I don't know the sales rep, I spend a lot of time getting to know the sales rep. So I think we need to talk some new construction like tips at some point, but asking questions, because my goal is, hey, I want you to give me all the information, and then I'm just going to put it back out um, in my own words, right? So spend some time getting to know them, walk through the house, because I want to kind of get an idea of what we're going to talk about on that video. It's like, hey, I really like the kitchen, or oh, you got to wait till you see the master bathroom, kind of get a visual thought of how we're going to do that, and then shoot the action. And then I will shoot all of my like outside stuff, so any B-roll, things like that. And then we'll kind of just one take, shoot the house, walk through it, talk about it, get everything we need to do, and then shoot the intros and outros at the end so that I can kind of go back and wrap back up on what we've talked about, and be like, okay, here's what we saw, or here's what you're going to see, kind of build that anticipation kind of thing, and then wrap it up and call it good. As far as like on the front end, I mean, for me, it's usually a little bit of research on my side. So it's in the, somebody asked, how much do I put in my videos a week? I have probably uh, I probably book about 7 hours a week for content. So typically, like for me, Monday mornings, so 9 to lunch is kind of my research thought process. Hey, here's the community I'm going to. Can I pull any tax rates? Can I pull the builders? Anything I need to know about the area that I can articulate in that community. And then Thursdays are my content days. So I try and do 1 to 2 a Thursday, whether that's, hey, sitting in my office, or it's in the community. I'm probably in those communities 90 minutes or so, give or take. By the time it gets me through all the shooting processes and asking questions, because it's twofold, right? It's say I want to shoot the content, but I also want to build the relationship with the sales rep that's there.
I dig it. I dig it. Well, let me add something to that if I can. From the framework that we operate, so a lot of the things that get asked is, or some of the biggest excuses, I don't have time, I don't know how to do this, and among others. But the framework that I have found pretty successful, at least on YouTube, has been allocating some time for prep. So we call that prep
Yep.
day. And I believe yours was Monday, right? So
Yep.
9 to 1. So there you're brainstorming video ideas, video topics, you're researching, optimizing. Hey, if I bring this video to my channel, does it make sense on my channel? Does it make sense at this point in time? So essentially you're brainstorming, optimizing. And at that point, you go into scripting. So figuring out how you're going to package it, what you're going to say, what you're not going to say, how you're going to present it. So that's your
Yep.
prep day. So you can prep one video. I don't suggest it. Or you could prep 5 videos at a time, right? So you can do some batching. So I would allocate some time for that. So prep day. The second day or second time block would be the execution. So that would be recording. So at that point, once you've
Yep.
prepped, let's say 3 videos, well, when you go into the recording phase, whether you're using a studio of your own or renting one out, or going on location, then go and record those 3 videos at once, right? So that is your second time block. And then your third time block, depending on how you structure on the back end, that's when you go into editing mode. That's when you go into design mode for your thumbnails. That's when you start creating putting everything together with the editing, designing, and uploading to YouTube. So that's essentially your distribution day.
Yep.
Prep day, record day, and distribution day You can space those out. A lot of our creators end up doing Monday, Wednesday, and Friday in that order, but you could structure it based off of how you want to execute. With that being said, Zach, what are some things that you would suggest that we consider when we're trying to work with new construction and also
Yeah.
execute a YouTube strategy behind it?
Yeah, so somebody's asking in the chat, do we do anything different for hiring construction properties? Do I maintain rapport with project sales teams? Absolutely. So I don't do anything different. So I shoot a $350,000 house the same way I shoot a $800,000 house. It's for me, it's hey, we're trying to tell the story, right? Because that story fits for somebody. It's for somebody that story is the first time home buyer. This is going to be a great opportunity to get in. It's going to build value over time. For the others, it's like hey, this is a great move up situation. You're going into a great neighborhood, great amenities, things like that. And then like rapport with the project sales team is probably one of the biggest things I would tell you from like the new construction side of this, like generating that kind of business. I treat builder sales reps like clients. So they all exist in my CRM. I try and spend time. So the two places I spend the most of my time is in content creation and relationship building in model homes. Because you'll realize the more time you spend in those model homes that there are days that those sales reps are incredibly lonely because they're tied to that model home. They can't leave. They're basically waiting on clients or waiting on people to come to them. And so there's times when they just like they don't. You're the only person that they see during the day. So again, it's just that mindset of like, hey, what can I? I don't want anything from you. I want something for you, right? Like I want you to be able to sell these homes. I want to know what's going on with your wife and kids. Tell me why you work for this builder. Tell me why you what you think compared to the competition in your neighborhood, and listen. And like when they listen, just learn to re-articulate those things. And you'll learn who the good sales reps are and who aren't, and how they can talk about their product without bad mouthing the neighbor's product goes a long way, right? So show up, ask questions, learn from them, hear about their product. Please, please, please do not show up to a builder sales rep's office and be like, hey, if somebody walks in unrepresented, you can call me. Like that's crap because they all already have their people in their pocket that they're going to call. You want their business, bring them a buyer, right? That's the way to do that. And again, I think a lot of this for me is like, don't gatekeep. Like your job is to provide value. Your job is to provide information, and you have to be okay that somebody's going to watch your video, and they're going to go buy the home without you. Like I can't tell you how many times I'll run into somebody in a neighborhood and they're like, "Hey, you're Zach, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Like, "Oh, we watched your video. We bought a house out here," and I'm like, cool, but you didn't call me, right? And you've got to be okay with that, right? Like it's like again, we're in the business of helping people, and when we lead with that understanding of hey, again, it's all about people being able to get into houses. Um, it when we live it open-handed, I don't know how to say that any other way. It's like the right people show up. So don't gatekeep value. Don't be like, oh, there's this secret pricing. No, there's not. Like just tell them, right? Hey, here's the incentive. Here's what's going on. Like, can we get a little bit more on this? Yeah, probably. Do I have some negotiation ability? Yeah, of course. But like, people want the information. If you don't give them the information, they're going to go to somebody else that'll give it to them, namely me. So give them as much information as you can. Ask questions, show up to meetings. People ask me like, hey, what's the process of like working new construction? Main thing is like understand how builder incentives work, understand what they can do, understand what they can't do. Understand that your job is not to be a bully. Like if you go in and try and strong arm a sales agent, it is not going to go well for you. Your job is to get the best for your client and understand that you're all playing on the same team. Don't be a bully. Show up for meetings, check in on progress, ask questions. Become a resource because I think a lot of times builder sales reps, for especially some builders, see you as a nuisance. And if you don't, and if you show up and make life difficult, they're going to see you as a nuisance. You can't be that. You've got to figure out how to show up and be a resource, ask the right questions. And my goal is always like, I should know enough about the builder and the community that when I walk a client in there, I should be tossing softballs at that sales rep and be like, hey, Gene, your community, like y'all have one of the lowest tax rates in Rockwall County, right? I was like, oh yeah. Like, thank you for reminding me. Like, I should know enough about their stuff to be able to like, again, lob softballs at them to hopefully get my clients into a house that makes sense for them.
I dig it. I dig it. All right. So what questions do we have? I have a ton more, and I can keep going, but
The other
there's a
thing I'll
lot of
tell
agents
you,
here.
well, I'll give you this, and then we can kind of do some more questions. I don't know what it's like in every other market, but I will tell you, at least here in DFW, builders are continuing to pay. They're continuing to offer compensation and commission. And normal to what we've seen in the past 2.5, 3, a lot of builders bonus. So, 5,000, 10,000, 2,500. Some of them even do tiered commissions, 3%, 4%, 5%, the more you sell. So for me, it's like, it's a clear, on the front end, I can articulate my value to my clients. Like, hey, here's what I'm worth to you, here, because I spend a ton of time in this space. And 90% of the time I'm going to get paid by the builder. And so I've been telling people this recently. This is kind of how I articulate this with my clients, and you're free to do whatever you want to do. Because the question always comes up, well, if they're giving you a bonus, like, I should get your bonus, right? And it's like, no, that's not how this works. So I always tell clients in our initial meeting, like, hey, you're hiring me to represent you throughout this transaction, whether we're buying on inventory and we're closing in 30 days, or we're going to be together for the next 6 months. Either way, I'm with you through the whole process. I have two caveats. I charge 3% flat fee. That's what I charge, 3%. But there are there's two variables on that. Variable number one is if we sign with a builder that's paying less than 3%, I will not back charge you. So on the rare case that a builder's paying 1.5, 2, 2.5, whatever, I'm not going to charge that back to my clients. Like, we're gonna adjust backwards accordingly, because that's what's fair. But on the flip side, if a builder is bonusing, and oftentimes they do, based on seasonality or based on my production with that builder, I am keeping my bonus minus 25% of the overage of 3%, right? So if a builder is bonusing me at $10,000, I will guarantee you 25% of my bonus straight up off the front end. And there's never been any question about, hey, well, Zach, you're not worth that. Or Zach, we think we should be getting more money. Absolutely not. My job is to get you as much money as I can from the builder. And again, if they're paying an overage, I'm happy to have that. Here's the standard that we're setting. Now, are there times that we go above and beyond for clients? Absolutely, because I believe in doing whatever we can to make a deal work if it makes sense. One of the things that I track is how much. So two things I track is how much we save clients every year and how much we give back above and beyond. And I can tell you this year, I'm looking at it. We've pulled almost $393,000 in builder incentives, and I have given back almost $98,000 in additional commissions based on that thought of just being generous with my clients. So do with it what you want. But when that commission conversation comes up, that's one of the reasons why I love new construction, is because most builders are continuing to pay. And if you can articulate your value and articulate your worth and have that conversation on the front end, there's never a question about why I should or should not get paid.
Boom. Questions, comments, concerns. We don't have them but 15 more minutes, folks. As you can see, he'll answer anything, even the
Yeah.
social. Hey,
Open.
Zach, what's your social?
You can find me on all the socials.
No, I mean your
Zach
social
Schmidt.
security number.
Yeah.
Okay.
Blah blah. Yeah. It's 8 digits or however many digits it is. I don't even know. 9. It's got a 1 through
Doreen,
9 in there somewhere. Yeah.
what you got, Doreen? And then we'll go with Betty.
Yeah, hi, Zach.
Hello.
I'm in Sarasota County, Florida, and we're
Okay.
in probably a market like you where the new construction has caused us to be pushed into a buyer's market. And there are a lot of agents already doing what you're doing. And I would love to follow suit because I absolutely 100% love working with new construction. I myself have gone through the process when I moved here to Sarasota. And so I understand the process of new construction and the frustrations of it. But
Yep.
I don't want to be a cookie cutter agent and just end up doing the same thing that everybody else is doing. So I'm trying to figure out a way to stand out and be different. And I took and I wrote down what you said about doing community and maybe adding in some a nightlife, because there are a lot of younger people moving here now. But
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out a way that I can not be just like all the other agents doing the model home tours and blah blah blah. It gets boring after a while. So I'm just
But even in that, like, you can watch, like, the way everybody does model home tours differently, right? There's some people that, like, you never see them show up in the model homes. There's some people that show up way too much. Like you find the way to do that. And I think it's more important to show up authentically. And it's like, hey, like this is, if you watch my videos, you'll catch random pop culture references. You'll catch like stupid jokes. Like I'm a middle school boy at heart. And so like I'll make middle school boy jokes and just kind of laugh it off in a video. And I've had to like talk to the editing team and I'm like, guys, leave it in there. We mess up and get it wrong. Leave it in there. And so you have to find the thing that you enjoy and have fun with it. And even if you're doing stuff that's similar to what other people are doing, they don't have the voice that you have. They don't have the experience that you have. They don't have the vision that you have. And again, what you say, you and I could look at a script and look at the exact same script and it come out totally different, and it's going to reach two totally different people, and that's okay, right? At the end of the day, like if I had half of 1% of all the business that happened in DFW, like I could retire in the next 10 years. I could retire in the next 5, right? And so it's like there's so much to go around, especially in a market like that where you've got a lot of an abundance of people moving in and an abundance of growth. Like can like do what people are doing, but make it your own. Betty, what you got?
Yes, and kind of like what she was talking about, you said, I wrote down that you like to do some sort of like community video.
Not enough
So
more.
since you said that you do 25 minutes talking to the sales rep so that you know as much about the builder and what they offer, then you do
Yep.
the walkthrough of the house, you shoot the outside, and then you shoot the intro and outro. So again, my
Yep.
question is the community, do you do it before the house or after the house? And then you do the intro and outro to include that, or
It honestly just depends. There are some days that like I'll shoot some content in my office and then go out and shoot the community. There's some days I'll do it in reverse. Like I wish I could tell you I haven't. It's an art, not a science, right? You just kind of the more you do it, the more you're like, okay, this is what works for me, and like for the way my brain processes, this is kind of how I do it, right? So it's usually for me, it's like, hey, conversation with sales rep, learn, talk about inventory, video of the home, in outro and intro at the end, kind of thing. But like that's what works in my brain. You kind of just have to, as you work through that muscle, you'll find the ones that make the most sense for you.
okay. And also, so are you using your phone, or are you using a different like an
No,
actual video
no.
recording? Is somebody recording you?
So I started with my phone, and that was a good piece for a little bit. But the challenge that I learned, like from a practical standpoint, was it was a pain getting my stuff from my phone to Google Drive because there was no way to get it out. So then I moved to, I started shooting on a GoPro and played with that for a little bit. And then did a couple other things. And so like part of me too is like, I'm a nerd for that kind of stuff. So I buy way more equipment than I probably should, but I'll tell you, let me see if that's sitting over here. What is, this would be, if I was going to buy anything, it would be this. This is the DJI Pocket 3. They have it as like a creator combo. It's got a microphone that comes with it. It's like $700, and it's the best thing that you could buy for shooting. It's easy. It's super intuitive. Like you open it up, flip it open, and you're ready to record. You don't have to mess with any settings. I would definitely spend the money on that. If you're going to shoot on your phone, the one thing I will tell you is please put your phone in airplane mode while you're shooting, because the last thing you want to do is be in the middle of a video and a phone call come through and it stops the whole thing and it messes up the whole process. I learned that one from experience. So if you're going to shoot on your phone, shoot in airplane mode. Otherwise, like the DJI Pocket 3, I wish they would sponsor me because I would tell everybody about it. One of the best things that I have in my toolbox over there is
So
that
that means you're recording your own videos. Nobody's
yes,
recording you.
I don't record with somebody else. I mean, and some people find that they record. So like, if you're here next week, Jackson and them, they'll talk about how they record with a partner, and it works really great for them. It's not what I do. It doesn't work for me. So I'm very much like out here. I've got, got it on a little tripod, shooting, kind of shoot the video content, shoot me. I shoot with myself. You'll kind of find, what works for you. If you have a partner, you have a team, and you're like, hey, this is, we want to do this together, then both of you do it and be on camera. But for me, it's like, it works by myself, and I don't want to have to pay an additional person to be there.
No, that's awesome. And then the last thing is, do you record while you're driving the community, or do you just record like as you're standing, walking, or?
It
The reason I'm
depends on
asking is
the
because I'm having a hard time finding something that attaches to my car that makes sense because it's
It
usually
it, de-
just
it
me.
de- so it de- it depends on the day and depends on the community. Like I said, I am a nerd for equipment, and I buy all the equipment I can because the government says I can write it off, right? So I've got all the different like suction cup mounts for GoPros that go on my hood or that mount on my dash. I've used them some. It just depends on the community, and it kind of depends on the vibe that I'm feeling that day. So yeah, I've recorded while I'm driving. I've recorded sitting on the bed of my pickup. I've recorded standing in a shower. I mean, you name it. It just kind of whatever it feels like makes the most sense. You play with it and find out
Thank you, Sag. You're generous.
for sure. D, what you got?
So I am in a state where, and I'm in New Jersey. I'm in the southern part of New Jersey, where there is not because new construction is not as big as it is down where you guys are in the south.
Okay.
And when you do go in to have a conversation with like the sales rep, the one time that I did do it, I asked the sales rep, could I interview her? And I said, is this a situation where you have to go to corporate and ask corporate if
Hmm.
if I would be able to interview you and then use it as content? And it was kind of stale for a while. She was on the fence, and she said, no, sure, we can do it, and I never heard back.
Yeah.
Um, what other ideas can you do for those of us in states that, I mean, we have new construction, but it's just not as big as it is down in the South, where if
I
I,
mean,
yeah,
at
good.
that point, I would start looking at like if you know you're in an area where you're pulling a high relocation piece, you've got to think like a consumer, right? So consumers looking at it and you're like, hey, I understand this part of Jersey. And so I would sit at my computer and start shooting map videos, like put yourself in the corner, like on Zoom, pull up the map and be like, listen, if you want to move to Jersey, like you're going to spend $600,000 and you're going to live in this neighborhood, but you got to know that the highway over here, like it's all like you got to think through it from a consumer standpoint, right? YouTube is owned by Google, and Google is the largest search engine in the world. So if you can think through it from the standpoint of like, if I was looking for something, what would I go like? More people search YouTube than they search Google at this point, right? So when you understand that logic, you can create content around that. So maybe it's the community tours, maybe it's hey, here's the unique things about living in Jersey that nobody tells you. Hey, our state property taxes are, and again, I don't know. I'm just, picking things out of the air. But think about it from a consumer education standpoint of this is your forward facing like value proposition to a consumer to say, look, I'm the expert here. If we're going to like, you're going to work together, this is what you're getting from me kind of thing.
No, what I was going to ask is for those that are in your states that have the high rate of new construction and those that are trying to migrate down to that area, is it a good idea to interview those agents that are in that area that specialize in new construction?
Those interviews are hard, right? Because if I have a good enough relationship with the salesperson, like we've done business together, and I know they're making like if they're making content too, and they understand that market, yeah, I will do an interview with them. But I've had some that we've done that I'm like, oh God, that was super stale, and this is gonna bomb. And you're like, oh, thanks so much, and you kind of like, it's so situational dependent. Uh, of what we do with those. So I would say yes if it makes sense, and they can articulate the things in their community um, for how you do that. So a couple of questions from the chat, and then I got to get my boy Mark over there because he's here in Dallas. Do we get in to see the community minis? Yeah, typically. If they're there or if like it's a new neighborhood that's not there yet, there's usually some sort of billboard or banner and we're talking about them or we're doing the renderings online. When we give back client credit, it's structured in the deal. So I just tell them, hey, on top of whatever we're getting from the builder, you have this amount of credit from me structured into our deal that you'll get as a credit at closing. So hopes that helps. Mark, what's up, buddy?
What's up, brother? How you doing?
Mark's killing it down here in Dallas too.
What is going
He's
on,
got some
man?
super good content.
I wanted to touch base and just ask a quick question about kind of what your process looks like for when people are reaching out and then they're talking about, some people they may be let's say 5 months out, but they want to come down for that initial, they want
Yep.
to come around. What does that look like for you? Are you giving them like a self-touring? Are you meeting them maybe at a coffee shop and then allowing them? Because what I'm finding is I'm using a lot of time when they come in town,
Yep.
and then I won't say they go ghost, but their timelines get pushed. I'd like to streamline that process.
Yeah, the goal that I'm trying to get everybody on a Zoom call right now. That is my goal. That's been my goal for the Q4, and my goal going is like, hey, our first conversation needs to be on Zoom, to where we can ask any questions. And I'm trying to build out, one of the things I'm trying to build out too is like a survey of like, hey, tell me everything I need to know before we ever get into the call. So beds, baths, you have kids. All of those general questions we would ask in a call, because like I would rather have that information and our call be more about, hey, I found 3 communities that you guys need to take a look at. Here's this one. Hey, here's the 3 in Salina. You want to be in Salina? Here's where we're looking at, and trying to get them and trying to funnel everybody toward that call. And then from there, as people are coming down, it's super situational dependent, right? Like I've got, if I've got some people like, hey, we're going to be in town, in a couple weeks, and we're looking at building in 6 months. And I'm like, cool. And I will honestly just kind of, it depends on what we've got going on. There are times that I'll like, hey, I'm going to make your appointments with all of your sales reps. Here's who you're going to see. You're going here, you're going here, you're going here. And I'll call and make those appointments and just be like, hey, I've got a client coming in. They're going to be ready in 6 months. Connect us together, kind of thing. If they're like, hey, we need to get something done now, it's situational, right? Like if I can feel the awareness, you're going to get the time from me to be present in those spaces. I also feel like, and I tell clients too, it's like, guys, I know enough about majority of these neighborhoods, and I know enough sales reps. Like I can confidently send you in there and know that they're going to take care of you. And we can, like, you talk to them, you like it, we'll negotiate the deal after the fact. Right. And so it's situational, because I find like, I mean, you're probably all over the place like I am, and it's like, man, I can't be in 3 places at once. And you're like, hey, we think, I had somebody call me yesterday, like, we want to move to Dallas in 2027, and I'm like, that's awesome. I'll put you in a sticky note, and we'll talk in 9 months, because I can't think about 2027 right now.
Yeah.
So it's not perfect, but it's trying to figure it out and dial that system in even more.
Okay.
So
Hey, Zach.
yeah.
Hey, thanks for doing this. Do you pre-qualify your buyers with an outside lender, or do you just work directly with the builder's lenders?
So we typically have a general conversation of like, so there's a great app, what is it called? It's Palm Agent. You have to get sponsored by a title company to get on it, but Palm Agent is a phenomenal calculator, at least here in Texas. So we typically will have the conversation of like, hey guys, talk to me about your budget and what does that look like in terms of like monthly payment, and kind of setting some realistic expectations. I don't normally qualify them with a lender, and I know that's probably taboo, but the way I see it is like, I know I'm going to take that business away from the lender. I don't like working for free, so I don't want my lender partners working for free, right? Because 99% of the time we're going to end up with the builder's lender. Now, there's a couple times we go outside because the builder's lender can't get it done, or whatever. So I typically have the general like, hey, budget conversation. Here's where we think you're at. And then, follow it up with like, hey, once we get in with the builder, they're going to dive into this deeper, and, the contract's not going to happen until they can qualify you for lending. I do have a lender here locally that'll kind of do a soft approval. Basically, he's like, oh, it's no time at all. I'm like, yeah, I get that, but I just have a hard time handing you stuff that I know you're not going to get paid on. So again, it to each their own. I just, it works well. I mean, there's a couple times we'll get in and, somebody won't be able to qualify, but usually we can get them pretty close in a general conversation of, hey, set the right expectations. So, Stephanie, what part of Arizona are you in?
Phoenix Metro.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. My wife and I lived in the West Valley for a couple of years.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's where I grew up. Yeah.
Nice. Like Happy Valley and I-17 area.
Okay. Yeah. A little bit northwest.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun. Do I use a specific type of ad? I don't do any ads. every bit of my business. I spend zero money on ads. I don't buy leads from Zillow, Google. I probably could spend some money in Google Spaces, but I don't. Like I said, everything I generate comes from YouTube right now. So that's either good or bad, right? I'm either hedging my bets to do really well, or shooting myself in the foot. I haven't decided yet, but no other. How many deals a month do we generate? So I have consistently closed at least one deal a month since January of 2023. For reference, this November we closed 8. I have 7 on the board for December. So somewhere on average between 3 and 5 a month, give or take. And it's a good mix of, like, so we were talking earlier, we've got, new construction stuff pending for 2025. The good thing about playing in the new construction space is it's a good mix of, like, hey, I have stuff that's 6-month paychecks that we're going to work on from dirt to completion. And then there's always opportunities on inventory where it's like, hey, we're working this for 30 to 45 days. So that's where you kind of get a good mix of, like, hey, we meet somebody for the first time, we're closing them by the end of the year. Have a couple of those, and it's like, hey, I have a couple right now. It's like, hey, we're writing deals for them to build. So you kind of get a good mix of both of those.
I've been telling people 2 a month, Zach. So okay, that's even higher.
Yeah.
Um,
How many
Mark,
out of those 3 to 5 a month? How many do you qualify to get those closes? I probably have. I mean, I like lead wise. I probably have 1 to 2 conversations a day from YouTube. That, again, some of them pan out, some of them don't. Some of them are long term. And admittedly, like everybody, my follow up is lacking. So, like, I could probably. I mean, realistically, there's probably another 25 deals that I left on the table this year. Um, just for lack of follow-up or lack of time. So that's the thing I got to get better at for 2025. What am I editing with? I do not edit my own content. I started with that early on, and I realized that was not my forte, and I was getting frustrated, and it was stupid. And then I went to Fiverr and started hiring people at $25 a video and couldn't figure that out. So I actually, Jaime, he can mute me if he wants, I guess. I will shamelessly plug their team.
I am gonna have to meet you. I am gonna have to meet you, but I appreciate it. I
All
appreciate it.
right.
So this is so he edits with our agency, but out of respect for the platform,
Yeah.
that's who he uses. I'm not trying to be
Yeah.
coy about it, but this is because I know where he's going. And there's several people here that I'm not going to mention that are absolutely crushing it, but it's not about that. It's more about getting you as much information as possible. If you want
Yep.
some additional information, Zach did drop it in the link. I don't mean to act weird about it, but
Yeah,
um
that's fine.
that's who he's using, Mr. Mark, and then let's get back to the questions.
Yeah, that was going to be my question about about your follow up. What does that look like? Just depending on how
So,
things come in.
so a lot of that right now is living kind of in my cell phone and in my, like, work generated, my Gmail that I pay for. What I am moving to is building out. So, like, if you're an EXP agent, we have KV Core, and KV Core is what it is. It's fine. It's not good or bad. It doesn't work the way I want it to work. So I am moving more to building out my own system in Go High Level, and realizing that there is way more things. It's like building a giant sandbox, and I didn't realize all the potential it had. So that's kind of my, like, what I've been focused on, is kind of getting that follow-up system put together to where I can do more email market. So I'm not doing any email, marketing drip campaigns. That's the kind of thing that I need to kind of build out. So right now for me, it's a lot of text message. It's a lot of just a lot of generic email. So I am not the person to teach you how to follow up with people, because I have not figured that one out yet. Like I said, people fall off my radar. But the good and bad about the YouTube thing is, like, and this is going to sound terrible, even when I forget to follow up with people, people follow up with me, right?
Yeah.
And those of you that are, like, doing YouTube, like Mark, right? There'll be times, like, somebody will email me once, and then I'll send them something, and then I get busy, and then they'll call me back and they'll be like, hey, we still want to work with you, and I'm like, okay, cool. So there's definitely some grace in that when people understand you and your personality. But yeah, so I definitely need to working on figuring out the follow-up and, like, using the tools in the CRM to their fullest potential.
from the aspect of like the clients and whatnot. So you can kind of you start to get a good gauge on who's like serious and then who's kind of just feeling their way. And are you
Yep.
kind of putting more focus on the people that are like actually trying to do something here in the next 60 to a year?
Yeah, that's kind of where a lot of my focus is just putting it in like, hey, where can I put these? Like I've got, on my desk in front, I've got sticky notes of like, hey, 90 days, 120 days, 6 months, whatever. And trying to figure, and a lot of it is so situational, right? Like I had a conversation with somebody yesterday. They're like, hey, we're moving to Texas. We've got a house to sell in California. And we don't have a job there yet. And I'm like, okay, so we're kind of in this like limbo state. Like we can go look at houses, but until you have a job that's moving you here and your house under contract, there's not a whole lot we can do. Like I can send you information. And they're like, well, we want to come out to Texas. I'm like, guys, it doesn't make sense for you to come out here yet until all of those other things line up, right? That's kind of it's putting them in those places, and then setting. I'm learning, the power of like the reminders app in my iPhone of like, hey, call Mark back in 30 days or send him a text in 30 days. I try and send the text with value, right? So like if I know, Mark is looking for a 4-bedroom house in Forney, and we've been talking about a couple neighborhoods. It's like, oh, hey, this builder just sent me an email that they've got a 399 promotion. So like, I'm not following me like, hey, just checking in. I'm like, hey, I just heard from Brightland, they've got this deal on this house. Are you still interested? Kind of thing. So that'd be the other thing I'd tell you, like on the new construction side, like all of those builders send out deals constantly, right? Just get on their websites and start and like subscribe to their newsletter or their deals or whatever, and you'll constantly get bombarded with, hey, here's what promotions we've got going on. Like if you're ever looking like, I don't know where the inventory is, get on the emails and they'll send you plenty of it. And then share that with people, right? Like that's great places to pull content from, like time specific content where it's like, oh, hey, this builder's got a 499 promotion plus appliances. Okay, well, we need to talk about that. And then it's like, hey, you may have missed out on this, but they're always running, good promotions. We can get you in, kind of thing. So, Tanika, what you got?
Sorry. Thank you for
Oh, you're
taking my
good.
question. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So I will tell you that when I started my YouTube about 2 months ago, yours was one of the channels I was researching and went all the way back to the beginning so that I could feel okay about whatever I was going to be doing.
Yeah, don't do that.
Like, so I appreciate you sharing that today. I did have a question. I love that you shared about being able to not having to do the ads. You're pretty much your YouTube is sustaining your lead generation right now, and that's the goal for my channel as well. But I'm curious to know two things. How long, once you got started into doing YouTube, how long before you started to gain any lead gen from doing the YouTube? And then the second part to that question is, how many videos are you putting out per week or a month?
So it took me 6 months, but it was also 6 months of like figuring out who I wanted to be and what I wanted to do and testing. And I mean, like I said, you could go back and watch some early videos, and I've unlisted a ton. Like they're freaking terrible. And the fact that people called me from those videos, I'm like, this is wild. There are videos I put out now 3.5 years into this, and I'm like, people call me from this thing. This is wild. So yeah, it took 6 months on the front end. And then, so I got to my goal in 2023 was 3 videos a week. I hit that 48 out of 52 weeks in 2023. I was kind of trying to keep the same goal for 2024. Got busy. I haven't done that. So I've kind of pulled back on the number of videos, and I've been focusing on getting longer on camera. So realistically, we're somewhere in that 2 to 3 a week, trying to be north of 15 to 25 minutes. Is kind of my goal at this point. And that feels like a lot, because when I started, we were doing 6 to 8 minutes. But again, when you understand like the YouTube algorithm, they want to keep people there. And how do you keep people there? You just put out longer, better content. And so it's like working that muscle up to where we're doing longer content with more information, not longer content for the sake of longer content, but longer content just for like value information. So I would say at this point, my goal is 2 videos a week, north of 15 to 20 minutes per video would kind of be where we're at. Podcast wise, yeah, if you watch some of the stuff on my channel, you'll see I have an agent on my team. Her name is Megan. We've kind of done some podcast stuff. It's been good. Like the views have been well. We've kind of put it on pause for this season. We may pick it back up in the spring. We've had conversation with lenders. Again, it's just whatever we can do, that finding those people that are engaging, that can carry articulate conversation and provide value for your clientele base is the biggest thing.
I dig it. I dig it. So, before we wrap up, I wanted to circle back for a quick question that has come up quite a bit, the follow-up, right? Something that's
Yep.
helped us whenever we have the first outreach, whether we capture most of our leads, 90% of our leads through KB Core, which is essentially a landing page, a call to action that we have. It's a list of preferred homes in Dallas, in Forney, in whatever. And essentially, what makes them preferred? The fact that they're for sale. That's what makes them preferred.
Yep.
So whenever they give us their email and phone number, we'll qualify them initially, very, very loosely. But we try to book what we call a discovery call, and I think that's something Mark does, something
Yep.
that you do as well. So essentially, just trying to assess motivation. That's our first filter. The second thing that we recently added that's helped us with conversion and also not lose these folks is we make it part of our process of when we have that discovery call. All right, well, the next step is to have a debrief call or a prep
Yeah.
call, which happens 7 days before they actually make the visit. What that allows us to do is to really screen share. We do that on Zoom. Most folks end up doing Zoom, so that's good. But we do that on Zoom, and where we actually screen share the map on the areas that we're going to visit. And what that allows us to do is not waste time when they're here. Their time is important, but so is our time as well. So what that allows us to do is once we highlight the areas that we want to be in and the communities that they want to actually look at, is we try to pre-register them before anything happens. So in the event that we're tied up, or in the event that we can't make it or don't want to, even if they go, they already have the contact information for the sales rep, and they're able to communicate with them, but they're already registered with us. And we've had very little pushback. In fact, no pushback from the sales reps that are, we end up sending clients to. So that's been one of the things that's really helped us with the
Especially
conversion.
if you have those relationships. I'm sorry, I'll cut in on that. Like, especially if you have the
Yeah.
relationship with the sales rep, or even if you don't, like if you pick up your phone and like call them or text them and say, hey, I'm sending a client out here on Sunday. Here's what they're looking for. Like, the more information you can give them, like the more it's a win.
1,000,000,000%. No, that was perfect. That was perfect. Again, the big thing is the prep call, teaching them to essentially get on your calendar once again. We do this 7 days before you actually visit, which allows us to pre-register. That's been pretty valuable for us. Zach, dude, thank you so much. Thank you.
Guys,
Thank you.
thank you for letting me hang out. This is fun. I'll tell you, like I said, I'm an open book. So if I can help you in any way, shape, or form, you have questions, or I don't have all the answers, but I'm happy to have a conversation with you. Like I said, I believe we're all better when we choose to live generously, right? And again, my people are not your people, and your people are not my people, and we can all be better for that. So I appreciate the time. Like I said, if I can help in any way, I want to do that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So where are you usually hanging out now to the social part? Are you usually on Facebook, Instagram?
I
So
mean,
we're
you
going
can
to send the
you can find me
recording.
on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. I think I have a LinkedIn profile, but I don't know how to log into LinkedIn, so don't find me there. Honestly, if you send me a message on there, I'll probably just send you my cell phone number and tell you to text me. So that's the best way to do it, honestly.
Awesome. Blossom. Folks, well, I appreciate the heck out of you. Sorry for the wrong Zoom link. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please direct them towards Zach, not me. No, reach out to Zach. Again, he'll share absolutely everything. He kicked off our YouTube series. So next week, we're going to have the Channel Junkies, the easy way to generate leads on YouTube for agents. They are monsters as well, same as Zach. And then we have Kyle Seagraves. He's going to be sharing AI So AI secrets to creating the perfect YouTube workflow. And then capping off our YouTube series for December, we have Ola Franco, the YouTube Mastery for Agents, the 7-figure blueprint. So
Come
with
on.
that being said, appreciate the heck out of y'all. We hang out here every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Central. If you want the reminders and notifications along with the recording, then just go to agentfirstsummit.com, register there. You're going to have Zach's information. Outside of that, see y'all next week. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, guys. Thank y'all.